Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And this week, I would say my number one feeling was frustration. So I thought we'd revisit that. Um, and get ready if you are joining the broadcast live. Get ready and to let me know what your major feelings have been this week so we can discuss them. And then, of course, if you're watching on the replay, welcome. We love it when you watch us any way you choose to. Dear Mama Sal, as you may know, is not just me. It's a group of people who get together every week, 3 times a week, to discuss their lives. And at lunchtime on Fridays, we talk about coping with our feelings. And then at Friday evenings, we talk about coping with life, which is normally a meal prepping type thing. And then on Sunday afternoons, we talk about coping with stress because we all have that as well. I'd like to introduce you all to Jody. You will hear me refer to her every now and then. She is our admin and does a great job of looking after me, not only during the broadcast, but also during the week as well. So, hi there, Jody, and welcome. And to the rest of you watching in the background, wherever you may be, a very warm welcome to you all. Just understand, we all cope with stuff every day. It's not just you. It doesn't matter how rich and famous you are, you have to cope with stuff. I was just listening today, Adele was about to start her residency in Las Vegas. And guess what? Between the Omicron variation, is what I'm trying to say, and the delays, of shipping and so forth, she's had to cancel or postpone her residency in Las Vegas. You imagine what that does to her. That's a huge, huge hit, not only for her, but also for the hotel where she's at or the venue where she's at. Huge hit. You can imagine how many people are booked to see Adele that they've had to cancel. So it is what it is, right? It's frustrating. One of the things that I saw a quote on this week was controlling your time helps overcome frustration. How many of you have found that with better time management, you are less frustrated? And I'm going to talk a little bit to that during the broadcast today. For those of you who don't know, just to let you know, any views that you will hear from me are due to the fact that I've lived a long time, got a lot of gray hair. It's not because I got a fancy piece of paper, just so that you all know that. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter because we use those to let you know what's going on. For example, if we've got birthdays or anniversaries or something like that, or we've had a change because of something's happened to me and I can't do a broadcast, I will put it up on Facebook and Twitter. And also here on YouTube. So make sure that you follow us here, hit the bell here, subscribe, do those things because if I have to cancel a broadcast, this is where I'm going to let you know. All right, so before we carry on to the main topic today, which is frustration, some thoughts and prayers, celebrations, and general things. First of all, my question to you all is the Super Bowl will be happening on the 13th. That's not that far away. So if you're in a family that watches the Super Bowl, are you starting to be prepared? Do you know what you're going to have for snacks and those sort of things, all right? Because if you don't, then, you've may want to have a look at that. Um, for those of you who are on the eastern seaboard and got the incredibly cold weather, I hope you're through the worst of that. I believe, first of all, we had it. I mean, who believes that southern British Columbia would have had the sort of weather that you guys get on the eastern seaboard? You're used to it. We're not. And then, of course, because we're generous people, after we had that really cold, incredibly cold snap, we then had what they call the atmospheric river. That's when God dumps water on you at an incredible rate. We sent that over as well. So I hope you all enjoyed it. And I'm pleased to tell you that we've had so much of that atmospheric river that our snow has gone. I think there are tiny little bits in my community here, but that's where the snow was banked up. with the clearing of the roads. But, it's amazing that most of it is already gone. Just to let you know, in terms of be aware. And what I've noticed going out and driving is that where we had those incredibly cold dumps of snow, we now have potholes in the roads, second to none. And driving, quite honestly, is quite dangerous. They're on major roads where a lot of trucks and everything else travel. And with the weight of those trucks, I want to tell you, some of those potholes I thought could do real damage to my tires. But, you have to drive on the road, so you have to be very careful, and not everybody is. And it's scary, to say the least. Wanted to just acknowledge some birthdays before we get on to it, and we're just about to. First of all, Enoch and Elias, those are Amber's twins. They had their birthday yesterday, as far as I know. We know that Erin's got a birthday coming up on the 26th, which I think is Wednesday, and it's her 40th. So big cheers to Erin for making it through there. And then Becca's is on the 28th, for those of you who know Becca. If there are any other birthdays this week that we don't have on our list, please let me know. If you're a regular viewer, just so that we can add it to our list. All right, and just a bit of follow-up here. For those of you who were on the broadcast when Kimmy was telling us that she had a burning sensation where her pacemaker had been put in, just to let you know, she did advise me that apparently that's due to the muscles, sort of trying to work their way around this new implant that she has. The body doesn't like strange things put in it, and it will fight it, as some of you know. Now then, another little thing that I wanted to follow up on. Last week during one of the broadcasts, I said, I wonder whether the Serbian tennis player, the number one ranked tennis player, Novak Djokovic, wondered whether he would sue for the fact that he wasn't allowed to play. All right. And the first thing I did was that I actually contacted Doug, for those of you who know Doug, because he's involved with the big events, the big international events like the marathon here in southern British Columbia. And the thing that Doug said was that because it was a government decision, all right, the Australian Open wouldn't be sued because it had nothing to do with them. All right, it was the government who had banned him, if you like, from playing. And then here's the thing. I've subsequently heard that he actually has done that. He actually has put up a lawsuit against the Australian government for, I think, $5 million for the fact that he was not allowed to play, not allowed to enter the country and play. And the interesting thing there is that I am pretty sure that the reason they took so long to make the final decision was because of lawyers. I really do believe that extra time that they took before the second time they said no was because they were, in deep consultation with lawyers to find out, could they be sued? And if so, what was the answer to that? And I am pretty sure that even though Novak may well attempt to sue them, I doubt it's going to go to court somehow. I've got a feeling that they're pretty sure that can't go through. That's my feeling anyway. But I was glad that I called it immediately, because that's what I thought. Will he sue for loss of earnings? Because, he was likely to win it. And there's a lot of money on the line, millions, to win the Australian Open. So I thought I'd just mention that. Right. So let's move on to, first of all, did any of you have any achievements this week? Did you get the feeling of achievement? And the reason I want to talk about that is it's always a good idea, at least once a week, to come back and ask yourself, What did I achieve? And you know how easy it is to not realize what you've achieved. I find that I have to keep notes to realize how much I have achieved. There are so many days when I think to myself, oh, I feel like I've been such a slug today. I've done nothing. And yet, when I think about it, I have done a lot. But it doesn't feel like it because a lot of it's what I call routine stuff that I do without thinking too much. Well, I don't think too much, do I? But it's an interesting thing. So I urge you all, if you want to have a feeling of achievement, be aware of what you achieved. You cannot have that feeling unless you celebrate the small wins. I wonder if that makes sense to everybody. It's an important thing to acknowledge that you've done well, all right, in a day. And I don't think that is part of our training, is it? Part of our training is that we shouldn't acknowledge ourselves. It's pride comes before a fall. And I'm thinking of all those sort of things where I actually work hard now to make sure I acknowledge what I have done rather than what I haven't. One of the things I did, and this was the discussion we had about be prepared. I did find my mini barbecue. Now, for those of you who are going, why does she need a mini barbecue? It's part of be prepared thing. I live in a community where we are on a water well. Why is that important? If we lose if we lose power, we also lose water. And so if we lose power, obviously my oven doesn't work and my 1001 gizmos don't work. And I realized that I definitely need a way to be able to cook. The last power outage lasted over 4 hours, 9 hours. It was close to 10 hours. And I really, I like my coffee. So I needed a way to heat up my coffee. Now, I did buy myself a little burner as well, but I haven't even opened this up. So I hope it's fairly clean inside. I'll do that later on. But the reason I wanted to show this to you is because of what it took to find it. It was in my shed. It had been in there since the day I moved here. And I knew it was in there somewhere. The question was where. I cannot tell you how many times I went into the shed to try and find it. And what I wanted to talk to you about is, I'd go in there and it's pretty packed with boxes in there. So doing anything in there, even in the summer, is difficult. Doing it in the winter when it's raining or snowing or whatever is even more so, because you can't huck things outside to make room so that you can move around more easily. I think I probably went in 3 or 4 times, but eventually I found it. And how many of you know that was a feeling of great achievement? True. And so now I have 2 different ways to create hot food if I want to. Now that I've found this, my next step is to start collecting, the twigs and branches that have fallen off the trees over the winter so that I can make my own charcoal. And, this is like, why would I buy it when the trees give it to me every year? So I'm now collecting all my twigs and getting them into a place where they can dry nicely. And then that will create mini charcoal for me. So I'm very happy with that. Amazing the things that I've got in that shed if I bother to look. So the next achievement was, I think you all know that I am prepping. Part of my plan for the winter and spring is to repaint a section of my laundry room that has a lot of cupboards in it. And over the months, I have been planning it and getting the new hinges and new doorknobs, and the paint is all together now, ready to go. And so the next step was empty a cupboard. I have decided not to empty everything. I've decided to just empty one cupboard at a time, repaint it inside and out, and then put everything back, and then move on to the next one. Well, the good news was I emptied a cupboard. The bad news was I emptied the cupboard. It was full of light bulbs and 1,001 different 1,001 different rolls of foil, of cling wrap, of press and seal, you name it. Now, I don't know what your spare backup look like in your house, but I thought I'd show you what mine looked like. And these aren't the ones I'm using. These are my backup ones. So, pretty amazing, right? I saw these on sale, a really great price for 3 Ziploc bags. You can never have too many of those. I use them for all sorts of different things, not just in the kitchen. So I've also got another one. So that's a lot. This is also large, right? And that was a mega pack. I bought that as a mega pack, so that's good. I'm actually a little shy on the medium-sized one, so I'm probably going to buy some more. Let me see. I've got 3 press and seals. No, 4 press and seals. I've got 2 different cling wraps. I think that's foil. Nope. Plastic wrap. This is like a cling wrap as well, so that can go with that. What else have I got in here? I've got snack packs, the small ones. This is wax paper, parchment paper, aluminum foil. This is wax paper. Put that with the other wax paper. Okay. There we go. And this is wax paper. So apparently rather a lot of wax paper. So, but you're wondering, why would I have so much wax paper? I use it when I'm doing my artwork. So now that I got all that out, my problem is, how do I get it back again? All right. So, is there any way to downsize that? Yes, use it. Yes, exactly. Jody's saying, I'm envious of that stash. Well done. Press and seal has been difficult to find. Yes, so I have, on the whole, got an air and a spare of everything I need, because that's how I do it, right? The one I'm using, the air, the next one I'm going to use, that's called the air, and then the spare. Obviously, I'm now going to look out for a deal on the medium-sized bags. All right, let me take this away. Otherwise, it's going to frustrate me, and we don't want that. That's our subject today. Now, the reason that we're talking about that is that's part of what I got out of that one cupboard. There was more. There was just as much in the way of light bulbs, all different sizes. And that in itself is not a bad thing, except when you know that I've already put one complete box of light bulbs under the house in this crawl space. So I think what I'm going to do is, in the summer, take that box of light bulbs that are under the house and probably, gift them to my neighbors, just put them out near the road. That's what we do here, and just say, free, take it away. And people will take what they want, or they'll take the whole box. I don't really care. It's one way of downsizing. Yep. Jody is saying the same thing. All right. Whenever you can, whenever you buy anything like plastic bags or anything, buy a 3-pack. If they come up every now and then, and that's the way that I buy mine. Jody's saying we bought a 3-pack of the gallon freezer bags at the Warehouse Club. It was a great deal. Yep. And so now I'm going to be looking for a 3-pack deal on the medium-sized ones, which I'm sure I will be able to find. Especially, Jody, if you could write a note that I need to do that for me so I remember after the broadcast. So understand that I have emptied that cupboard. Now then, you've seen one of the 2 boxes that is filled to the brim of what I took out of that one cupboard. Now, the question is, where am I keeping all that stuff? Well, at the moment, it's on the floor in my craft room that I have to walk past every day, and that's frustrating. And so here is part of my problem. And I will talk about that in a second. I also this week, I'm busy in the studio trying to rebuild that unit in there. Because what I needed to do was get that unit out so I've got a rolled up carpet, and what I'm trying to do is to unroll part of it, move things onto it, and then unroll the next part. Can you imagine that? So I don't have to take everything out at one go. I can just do it bit by bit. Well, the first thing I did was to move the wall unit out, and I managed to do that. And then I got the beginning of the carpet down, and now it was just a case of putting the wall unit back on it. Well, hello. What I forgot was the wall unit slides really well on laminate flooring, but it doesn't slide really well on carpet. And so in doing that, it messed up this unit. And so what I did was I made a plan. What can I say? All right. I'm in the plan of completely rebuilding that unit, because in order to get it to work properly again, I needed to undo the whole thing and put it back together. So, hello. It is what it is. It takes what it takes. No point being frustrated about it. However, let me start with my frustrations. Did any of you have any frustration this week? If so, let's talk about it. I'm going to start with one of mine because I had a lot. And by the way, the next quote I have for you is, frustration and anger are not created by the past, but how we choose to carry the past. All right? It is because we can't let go of things that the frustration gets frustrating, as you will see. Some of you will know that I bought an air fryer, a new one, because the one I've got is beginning to, I had one of the original ones, and the more I think about it, the happier I am that I've got it. So why am I replacing it? But the thing is, I know that it's on its last legs, and so it's time to replace it. So here's the thing. I did get an air fryer, you will remember, but it didn't work after 10 days. It just stopped working. And so that was a bit nasty. So then I went through the process of reboxing it all up. By the way, I do recommend that as you unbox these things, make sure you take pictures, or you're really aware of how it all fits back together, because it's important, because it's like a giant Jenga puzzle. Anyway, so I got it all boxed up and I sent it back. Then I changed brands, right? That was the next thing. I changed brands, got another one. That was the one. Sorry, the first one I got, I forgot to check, did it have a smoke filter? And what it did is it kept setting off my fire alarm, because I got a very sensitive fire alarm. So then the second one stopped working after about 10 days. So I boxed it all up, sent it, and then they took forever to replace it. I knew that they had got it back because I kept track of it. They got it back on January the 5th. And, then I wrote to them and said 10 days later, hello, have you sent my new one? And then they said, oh, we'll be advising you of the tracking number as soon as possible. So I said, fine. I waited another few days, and I said, okay, as you haven't bothered to send me a tracking number, I'm presuming that you have not sent the replacement, in which case, could you do me a favor and just refund me the money? Miraculously, the tracking number came through, and it was due to be delivered the very next day, which it didn't. It was the day after that it got delivered. So yesterday I was unpacking it, looking forward to doing another demonstration for you tonight with the new one. And I noticed that it didn't have something that was really important to me, which was the smoke filter. On the last one I had, it, you had to put the smoke filter on, which is why I was aware of it. It was like an addition that you put on the back. And this one, when I got it, it didn't have that. And then I started to look at serial numbers and things and model numbers. And what do I find out? It's not the same model as the one that I originally paid. In fact, the one that I got was like $100 cheaper. So hi there, Gary. Good to see you. And Karen, good to see you as well. And Sandy, of course, who's family as far as I'm concerned. So here is the thing. I realized they'd sent me a cheaper model. And so I wrote to them and I said, hello. Thank you for sending me a replacement, but it's not the same model as the one that I ordered. And I luckily had taken pictures of the serial numbers and the model numbers. And guess what? I got to send this one back and wait for the right one to be, and then they will wait until that one gets back before they send me yet another replacement. How many of you understand this is beginning to get a little frustrating? Oh, Gary is saying that this week has been tough. In what way, Gary, may we ask? Is it something you can discuss? So I wondered how you're reacting to that. What is your reaction to what has been happening to me on this air fryers? Are any of you feeling any anger about it, any frustration about it, any feelings at all about it? Because that's what I want to talk about. Because the chances are you will have had, as you heard the story, the same sort of feelings that I had. So when I first realized that it didn't have the filter, the first thing I thought was, oh, silly me, I must have missed it in the unpacking. So, I went through all the unpacking again, and I didn't find it. And then I really started to think about it, and I thought, no, it's not that I missed it. It's not here. So I just thought they'd sent me the right model, but they, for some reason, hadn't included the filter that's meant to be with it. An honest mistake, right? That's what I thought. Boy, when I found out they sent me the wrong model, it was now it was like, really? Really? So what do you feel? How many of you are going, that's enough? I almost thought about, I don't want to have this product anymore. But that's not true, is it? It's not true that I don't want this product. I obviously want it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have ordered it in the first place as my Christmas present. Think about that. So then it was a case, I need to just get over it and do what I can. And so what I did was, I was frustrated, by the way, about the amount of time I had spent unpacking something I've now got to repack up again and send back to them. Does that make sense? It's like, it takes a time to unpack all that carefully and, make sure you keep all the boxes and keep all the stuff. So now I've got to put it all back together again get it to the post office again. And in fact, what I will do is not get it to the post office again. I will pack it up and get them to come and get it because it's heavy. But can you see that being frustrated is not something that helps you? All right? Can you all see that? Frustration is a feeling, therefore it's under my control. All right? We all got that one, right? So to me, this is like, let's just feel the feeling, but then this is not helping me. What's helping me is to get the next step in place. And so once I had written to them, and I did that last night, I wrote to them, I wrote an email about it. I also tried to phone them, but they were already closed for the day because they were on the East Coast. So I had done all that I could. And so I went, okay, you've done what you can, get on with your life. Staying frustrated isn't going to, help my life at all. All right, let me just see what Gary is saying here. Okay, so Gary is saying it's been a tough week for him, as in feelings of desperation. Wow, that's an interesting one. And anxiety. I think a lot of us relate to the anxiety one. I'm not sure how many people relate to desperation. I'm chasing my dream job, something I'm passionate about with all my heart. I know I'll kill it, but I just need the chance to. Okay, so he goes on to say, I'm about to graduate college in a few months. The jobs I am passionate about, like this one, need experience, and I need to take someone to take the chance on me so I can show the world what I am worth. And by the way, hello, Sharon. Good to see you. So here's the thing, Gary. I want to tell you, in my lifetime, I never, ever had the right experience for the jobs I got, just so you know. And it wasn't because of any other reason that people, when I was interviewed, people believed I could do the job, even though I didn't have the experience. That's an interesting one, isn't it? So the question is, why? Why would people believe that I could do the job, even though I didn't have the experience? And it happened to me in just about every job interview I ever had, where I'd be up against somebody who had a wealth of experience, but they gave the job to me. Think about that. And I would like to say that I am somebody that people believe can do something when they say it. And why? I've got history of that. So my question to you, Gary, is, and I say this a lot, I help people with job interviews a lot. And one of the things I say to them is, can you prove that you are somebody that does what they say they're going to do? Have you got proof of the fact that you have these skills? And that's a really important part. So what is it about this job that you really think you're going to excel in? By the way, I wouldn't recommend saying you're going to kill the job, because that may be exactly what you do, kill the job. You don't want to do that. You want to get the job, not kill it. Think about that. Be careful what you say. It's one of the things I say to my viewers all the time, Gary, is watch your words. If you want to kill the job, don't do that. You want to welcome the job into your life, all right, and have it. It's a whole different story. All right, so Ordinary Girl saying to me that the reason she thinks that I got the jobs was because I have great leadership qualities. And Sharon saying you have to sell yourself and your talents. Yes. And one of the things I remember, and I do not recommending, Gary, that you do this, by the way, because it's, we're talking a lifetime away when I was being interviewed for jobs. But I can remember one guy saying to me, if you got the job, how would you do X, Y, and Z? And I looked at him and I said, I beg your pardon? And he said, if you got the job, how would you motivate the people? I remember that question at one time. How would you motivate the people? And I looked at him, that look that some of you know, the sort of, really? And I said, how would I know until I've met the people? And the interviewer said, what? And I said, how would I know how to motivate somebody unless I'd met them and found out what their trigger points are, what makes them want to do things? I said, how could I tell you without even meeting them how to motivate them? Hello? I always remember that one. And then again, Gary, don't do as I do, right? Because I'm cheeky. But I remember one saying to me, give me some ideas, about how you would do this job. And I said, oh, so I'm here to give you ideas? Because, by the way, they do that a lot, right? Because they want ideas. They actually ask all the people who apply for the job to give them ideas. And I'm going, are you paying me yet? And they go, what? And I said, you're asking for my ideas. And as far as I know, you're not paying me yet. So, I'm afraid that I don't do that. I will I gladly give you lots of ideas because I have them, but I don't do that unless I'm on the payroll. I don't give them for free. Think about that one. All right, so let me just just do some more with the comments here. First of all, right, so we talked. Gary has now changed his wording. He's saying now, I'm going to do a great job. Yes, exactly. But you understand the difference in that, Gary? Be very aware of what you say because you can unintentionally ruin your own job chances. All right, Sam. Hi, Sam. Sam's saying, new college is saying that I am so right here. I always love to hear that. But anyway, she's saying new college graduates have appeal when it comes to technology and the current industry regulations. Plus, you are more adaptable than those who've been around for a while. All right. So think about that. All right. You are very trainable, and that's a good thing. To be, you're not set in your ways in some other way. Gary. So, when they say to you, why should I pick somebody straight out of college? And then you go, because you can mold me. I'm not preset in some other culture. I can, fit in with your culture immediately because I don't have to get rid of another one. All right. This is like, I can work with your company culture. It'll be the most. By the way, I think the first company you work for has the biggest effect on you in some ways as well. So good, Gary. I'm glad you can see that, all right? And so when we think about these things, all right, isn't it the reason we get together, Gary, is because just a small thing like I'm going to kill this job. It's a good thing for everybody to remember to be careful what they think about. If you ask my admin, Jody, our admin, not just mine. If you ask Jody, she will tell you. I catch her on. I used to actually. I don't anymore because she's got it now. But I used to catch her on little things like that all the time when she was writing to me during the week, and I'd go, "Wait a minute, do you really mean this word here?" How many of you heard people say, I give my left arm to, yeah, fine, really? No, I don't say things like that. All right, so going back to my frustration, by the way, thanks for bringing that up, Gary, because I'm certain everybody needs to be reminded. We all have value. We all have value. Whether you got experience or not, you have great value. Let me tell you something I know from interviewing a lot of people. Believing that you will fit in to the team is as important as the experience you've got. All right? I want to tell you. So if you look like you're a team player that will get on with people, really, really important. Yes, Jody's reminded me, one of the things, Gary, that she used to say all the time was, I can't wait. And I go, really? Are you planning to, not be around? All right, Gary's saying here, what's bothering me is that this feeling that I don't know I'm going to do a great job and add a lot of value, but the desperation and anxiety of whether the other person will see it or not. Hey, that's out of your control, Gary. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your energy worrying about whether they're going to like you or not. Be who you are. All right. Don't try and be something you're not. Be who you are. I found out that, hey, I am who I am. Even, like in YouTube, right? I am who I am. Some people are going to like me and some people are not. That doesn't change me. I'm not going to that's another thing Jody will tell you about. I'm not going to turn myself into a pretzel, to make people like me. Why would I do that? There are so many people in the world. Some of them are going to like me. So, to me, this is like, I won't do that. I will not turn myself into a pretzel just to get a job or just to have you like me. And by the way, I think a lot of people who interview me saw that. I was not going to be easily manipulated by people. That meant that I also, my values, what I believe in, what I believe were some of my strongest selling points. I have values. So, you think about that. Who I am speaks louder than what I say. And it was really interesting, Gary, if I can give you an example. I remember getting as far as being interviewed by the president. I'd done the lower rung people. And then the president of this one company wanted to wanted to interview me. And when I walked in, he said, I believe you've been through all these interviews and you've not bothered to bring a resume. I said, yeah. He said, did you bring one today? I said, yes, because today it's relevant. I've got this far up the pecking order, therefore today it's relevant. And he said, okay, where is it? And I handed him, I picked up this piece of paper that I had with me, Gary. I picked it up and I said, well, here it is. And as he was looking at it, as I was holding it, I crumpled it up and threw it in the garbage can. I could see the garbage can from where I was standing. And he said, why did you do that? I said, well, let me tell you what I know. Number one, it's only one piece of paper, not more than one, because you haven't got time to read more than one. And he laughed and said, true. And I said, okay, the second thing is a third of it is references from people I've worked for. And he said, and I said, and let's be honest, I wouldn't put their names on there if I thought they weren't going to tell you I walk on water. So it's a pretty waste of time, isn't it? And your time is precious. So he said, fair enough. I said, by the way, it's a double whammy because most of them are in another country. And I think the chances of you phoning another country to get a reference on me is probably slim to none. Therefore, 1/3 of that piece of paper is a waste of paper. The first third is about who I am, where I live, contact information and things like that, which you probably have already. So therefore, that's a waste. And the middle bit is some of my experience, which, by the way, you already know about. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got this far. And therefore, I cannot see why you'd keep that piece of paper myself. But if you want it, feel free to take it out of the garbage. Be my guest. I personally think it's probably in the right place. But if you want a clean copy, I'll make sure you get it. If I get the job. If I don't, it won't be relevant, will it? And he just burst out laughing. And he said, I can't fight your logic. I said, I know. Makes you sick, doesn't it? And then, by the way, it was so cute because he was sitting in a chair. And then he asked me to sit on the couch. Well, I don't know if you've noticed that, but chairs are at one height and couches are a different one. They're lower. So I'm big into body language. And he said, feel free to sit down. I said, why would I do that? Why would I do that? And he said, what? I said, why would I lower myself so you can look down on me? I have no intention of having you look down on me. So what I did was I leant against his desk. I just put my rump against his desk. So we were at about eye level. I said, that feels more comfortable to me. And he said, you're nothing but trouble, right? And I said, yeah, but I do the job. He said, I bet you do. And by the way, I got the job. And by the way, I surpassed their wildest dreams in terms of effectiveness. And then after about 3 months, Gary, I said to them, could you give me a new problem? Because the problem you gave me is fixed. The guy said, what? I said, could you give me a new problem? Have you got it? Because they had different companies all around the place. I said, could you give me another company that I can fix for you? Because this one, the problem that you had is now fixed. You won't see it for another 3 months, but I assure you it's fixed. Everything is in place that it'll be running nicely now. But I'm going to get bored in a while. So I wondered if you got a new problem for me. And the guy said, no, I need you to maintain what you've just done. And I said, okay, but I just warn you, I'll get bored. I did. I was gone within the year to another challenge that sounded like more fun to me. Well, you know something, Gary, what I want to show you is that I was, and you're talking, remember this, Gary, I am an old fart, right? Some of the jobs I got 50 years ago, if you think about that, 50 years ago, I was a female applying for male jobs. In those days, females didn't get the level of job that I was applying for. And I want to tell you that I learned very early on, the fact I was female was just, part of the problem. They had to overcome that. They had to really believe in me to give me the job. But I didn't have to be something I wasn't. I just needed to be who I am. All right. So Jody's saying, that's a fantastic story. I've never heard that before. I can't believe you haven't heard it before. Loved my logic, but it must have been a real surprise to him when you crumpled the resume and threw it away. Yeah, he said to me afterwards, he had never had anybody do that. He said, that sure got my attention. And I said, yeah, but you get my drift. It was useless piece of paper. And by the way, it came back to haunt him later, because about 6 months later, I remember going into the president and saying, I just want to warn you of something. And he said, what's that? I said, 3 months from now, you're going to have a cash flow problem. And so we may want to have a discussion with the accountant about that. And he said, what? And I said, I just predict that 3 months from now, you're going to have a cash flow problem. And I want to make sure that you've got the things in place. I can't do it because I'm not your financial guy, but you need to have things in place ready to cover it. Well, he said, well, fix it. And I said, you don't think I've been trying? What I realize is in July, it's going to be a problem. By August, it will be fixed. But July is going to be a problem. And I thought you should get a heads up on that. And by the way, I think it'll be a problem to the tune of this many thousands of dollars. And he didn't believe me. Guess what happened? July came, they had a cash flow problem. And he said, so we got a cash flow problem. And I just raised my eyebrows and I said, please don't waste any more of my time. I warned you about this 3 months ago. This is not my problem, it's yours. I'm busy trying to fix what comes next. And I did. And he couldn't get angry at me because I had warned him. How about this one? How many of you agree that a sense of humor is God's antidote for anger and frustration? Having a sense of humor, is really important to counteract frustration. The more you can say to yourself, getting frustrated here does not fix my problem. Getting angry right now does not fix my problem. Now let me concentrate. Let me throw away the emotions. All right. Throw away the emotions. What are the facts? The facts are this, this, and this. Okay. Now what do I need to do? So the second thing that I wanted to talk to you about was, by emptying that cupboard, can you see that I ended up with more mess in my house, not less? So intellectually, I realized I had not done this in the right order. It would have been a good idea if I'd finished the work in the studio before I started unpacking cupboards. Do you all see that? But I didn't. So now, because I didn't, I need to deal with it. I have choices. I can put everything back in the cupboard. That is one option. Tidy it all up and put it back in again. That will create a lot more space in my life. In fact, I haven't thought about that until right now. But that's one thing I could do, all right, until I've got room to unpack everything. But there's that part of me that goes, but it's unpacked now, so I'll just paint the thing. And then I'm going, by the time I get the paint out and start painting, is it going to make even more mess in my life? And I realize I've changed. Having this much mess in my life actually frustrates me. I didn't know that. I've changed. All right. So Gary is saying, and talking about his job application, all right, also he has a responsibility for earning money. This job pays good, and this could really help in a lot of ways. It pays in other entry level jobs in this industry are bad. Well, hello, that's life. I would like to have, I would like to have a lot of better paying jobs in my life, Gary. But just because I want them doesn't mean I'm entitled to them. Just because I don't want an entry level salary doesn't mean I deserve to have anything but that. So what makes you think about that? What makes you think you are worth more than entry level pay? Give me the answer to that. Because let me tell you a reality that I know from having interviewed a lot of people. The truth is they will pay you as little as possible. All right. So if you're entry level, they won't want to pay you the salary of somebody who has had a lot of experience. It stands to reason. And the fact that your argument is, I have responsibilities, that they don't care. Do you know when I was working, Gary, just so that you know, I don't want to put you off. I'm trying to make sure you stay in reality. When I was working, I found out that a guy I was training, all right, was earning a third more than I was. And I was the boss, in that system. I was the boss, and the guy I was training, I accidentally found out was earning a third more than I was. And when I went to my boss and said, could you explain this to me? He said to me, he's got responsibilities. He's married. And I said, really? So if I go and get married tomorrow, I can earn a third more. Is that what you're telling me? Well, no. I said, then why is it? Is it because he's male? I'm now standing in front of you saying I need to get paid a minimum of a third more. I'm training him. And it was like, and if you don't think I'm worth it, that's fine. I knew what I'd done. And by the way, Gary, just so you know, they decided not to pay me a third more, and I got another job that paid me 150% more. That's not the fun part of the story, Gary. When I left, the company's profits went like this for 6 months. And after 6 months, they called me and said, what's it going to cost us to get you back? I assure you, it wasn't 1/3 of the salary I had left at, to go back. I knew I had nothing to lose and they could only say no. I literally doubled my salary, and I also wanted an Alfa Romeo car and, and an expense account that was just heavenly. And I got everything except the Alfa. But they gave me quite a nice car, but, they didn't give me the Alfa. So, think about this. You are worth what they think you're worth, not what you think you're worth. Remember that one, all right? So I want you to get the message that just because you have responsibilities doesn't make any difference to them at all. All right? That's not their problem. It's yours. So Gary's saying I didn't mean that, all right? I didn't mean to say that I'm entitled to it, all right? It'll help a whole lot. Yes. So what's your attitude? All right. And this is why when I train people for interviews, Gary, I'm watching for these little slips of stuff, because you don't want to be saying stuff like that in an interview. All right. I had one guy, Gary, that came to me to be interviewed, and in the first 5 minutes, I was pretty sure he had lied to me in desperation to be honest. I thought he was that desperate. And so what I did is I stopped him and I said, you strike me as a nice guy. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to leave my office now, go walk around the block and think about the things you have told me, because something in my radar tells me this isn't quite the truth. And I want to help you, but I can't help somebody who lies to me. So I'm going to ask you to take a walk around the block and forget today and start again. And I will make the time for you to be re-interviewed. Do you know, the funny thing was, Gary, he came back and he was in tears. When he walked into my office, he started to cry. And he said, I need to apologize. I said, yeah, that shows character. And he said, you're right. I was lying. I said, yeah, I know that. I'm not stupid. And then when I finished interviewing him, I said, I've got bad news for you. That is, I don't have a job for you. And he looked absolutely dumbstruck. And I said, but the reason I don't have a job for you is I don't have one big enough. The job that you're interviewing for, is really not your job. You deserve something better than that. So here's what I'm going to do. Because you had the character to go outside, rethink what you are doing, and come back and tell me the truth, I like you now. Therefore, that means you're going to get my help. And I said, hang on a second. And I literally picked up my phone and I phoned somebody who was the general manager of a big hotel corporation. And I said, John, I got a guy that had just come into my office for an interview, but he's got your sort of experience and you will like this man. Therefore, could you make time to interview him, please? And he said, you have never asked this of me before, Sal. And I said, I know. He said, hang on a second. And he obviously checked his daytime and he said, ask him if he can see me tomorrow at 11. I said, okay. So I looked at the guy and I said, John wants to know if you're available at 11. His offices are about 3 blocks away. And you probably want to hear this bit of the story because about 2 weeks later, I walked into my office to an amazing bouquet of flowers. And they were from the guy I'd interviewed. He got the job in the hotel company and he was now in charge of a major hotel. So, it's like who he was all I needed to want to help him. So it's not just the job you're interviewing for, it's who do those people, one of the things that you will learn, it's not just this person, but you come to me for an interview, there are all these people that I know. All right? All these people that I know that trust my judgment. Gary's asking me, what industry were you working in? At the time, I was in publishing. But my network of people were people from all walks of life, Gary. So when you have that interview, and if you don't get it, have the manners to write and thank them for the interview. And, if possible, ask them, do they know anybody that might value your talent? You see, I, like you, Gary, all right? I, like you, believed I was valuable to a company. And so to me, this is like, think about it, all right? Think about, will you make somebody proud that they recommended you? I was really glad to be able to recommend this guy. I thought he was very genuine, and I knew that he had lied to me out of desperation. And I made sure that he knew I would thoroughly recommend he doesn't do it again, because people are not that stupid. People who interview people a lot of time know when it's the truth and when it isn't. It was said that people let their frustrations out on me. How many of you have had that happen? How many of you have had people let out their frustrations on you. And I think there's a big difference between, are you somebody that it's okay to vent to? I have people in my life, thank goodness, that I can vent to and go, hello, I'm a bit frustrated now because da 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 da. But I don't want them to fix the problem. I just need to get those words out so that I can, make sure that I move on. So that's why I tell my support group, okay, I'm pretty frustrated. This is what happened to me. And they will say, do you want some input? And I go, no, I'm fine. I've already taken the next 3 steps, but I just needed to tell you that that's what happened today. I don't know why it makes me feel better. So how many of you relate to the fact that when your living space is a mess, that you end up a mess yourself? I've always said to people, if you want to know how my mental health is, have a look at my environment. All right? Have a look at my environment. If my environment is clean and tidy, the chances are my life is, under control. I always say that on Thursdays. On Thursdays, I make a point of really cleaning the kitchen because I know I'm going to be doing broadcast on Friday. Some Thursdays take me longer than others. All right. So here's the thing. Gary's adding the quote, cleanliness is next to godliness, right? How many of you grew up with that one? Yeah. And so now here I am. And here I am with the problem with all the things I've taken out of the cupboard. How many of you think I should put everything just back again? Just reorganize it, put it back until I've got a space to put the things. By the way, the frustration got worse because you will remember that I was meant to do Christmas with Yvonne and Wade on the 15th. Well, we had to cancel because of bad weather. Well, they were going to help me get my Christmas boxes back into my shed. Guess where they are? I've got 2 huge tubs of Christmas decorations sitting in my bedroom at the moment. Then what I decided was I was going to buy some more of those big tubs because I thought that's really useful to have a seasonal tub or 2. These are things I only use in the summer. Wind chimes and spring and summer. Anyway, wind chimes and certain cushions that go on the chairs and things like that, in one big tub, right? Good idea. So I ordered another 4. And that was fine until I loaded the first one up and went to lift it up. And when I went to lift it up, the handle broke. Actually, the plastic cracked. And so I wrote to the complaints department and said, hey, what do I what's the story here? And, the interesting thing was, I knew I'd already destroyed the box that it came in. I didn't expect that to happen, to be honest. But, they said they believed me and they would send me a replacement. And I said, do you need me to send back the one that broke? And they said, no, we recommend that you use it in some way where you don't have to lift it. I thought that was really nice of them. So I said, thank you very much. I'll do that. So, can I still use it in my shed, but just not, put it on the floor somewhere that I don't lift it and it needs things in it that I don't need to haul it out. I just need to rummage through it. Yeah, that will work. So then everything was going pretty well for me. And it got to, when was it? Wednesday, I think, Jody, when I woke up with a sty on my eye. Do you know what I mean? It's like this. And it was inside my eyelid. and it's scratchy. Not fun at all. And so I'm going, boy, this is the week. And, because that was going on, I wasn't feeling too good, So my whole day got messed up. But, what I had to do was go, hey, it's not the end of the world. You've just got a sty on your eye and it'll be fine in a few days. And by the way, it's getting a lot better. It'll be fine in a few days. Just, do what you need to do. So getting frustrated about it isn't going to make the sty go away. And Jody's saying yes, and it looked painful. Well, it was painful. But you know what I found was I found out how to treat it pretty well. And so, and I discussed it with Dr. Jody, of course. Jody and I have these very interesting conversations. But what I said was, okay, if I could drive, I didn't think I should be driving a car with my, with it the way that it was. So I thought, well, okay, let me think about it. What is in an eye drop? Well, hello, saline. So what is saline, right? And wait, I just want to show you. Hold on a second. So saline is basically salty water. That's what saline is. Gary's saying styes are the worst. Ugh, they're not the worst. I don't think they're the worst. I think they're an inconvenience. But really, they're not worse than stuff that Jody's dealing with at the moment, or Erin, who is, nearly, only has use of one section of her body. I don't think styes are the worst. They're inconvenient. So anyway, here is the good news. But thank you, Gary. I know what you're saying. Here's the thing. I worked it out that, what is in eye drops? Eye drops have saline in them. So I go, saline is salt water. That's what it is. So you go, okay, can I make salt water from my eyes? And some of you go, oh, I wouldn't play with that. Well, hello. So I made some, and then I'm going, I don't have an eyedropper, but I do have these very fine needle tipped things that I use for my art. So I thought, something, be a good idea to keep that well away from my eyeball, but I now have a saline dropper. And it worked really well, I'm pleased to tell you. Now, the other thing is I'm not very good about getting the saline in on the first drop. I don't know about you guys. So here's what I found out. The trick is to hold your head up, keep your eye open, hold your head up and do one drop. And I go, okay, that's on the top of my cheek. So I need to, I need to come back a little bit. And I just keep going until I reach the right level. All right, Sam's saying, am I using boiled water? Now, I did actually use very well filtered water there, I must say. So I have a high quality filter. So I used filtered water. And, quite honestly, it is the salt that is the antiseptic. The salt will kill most things. All right? As you probably know. So now Wednesday, I've got a situation. What am I going to do? I've got this time, and I'm not really capable of doing the fine work that I wanted to do on Wednesday. So I've just said, okay, why don't you, with one eye, with a compress on it, why don't you just watch the Australian Open with the other eye? Which is what I did. So, we all have these inconveniences going on. And Gary, I hope you understand. I didn't mean to minimize your compassion for me that styes are the worst, but I can't say that. You understand where I'm at, right? I don't think they're the worst at all. I think they're minor inconvenience, and I just needed to switch around my day. All right, so Jody's saying that saline solution is sodium chloride. Boiled water is distilled water, I believe. Yes, distilled water is water that has been evaporated. So it has been steamed, yeah. All right, so, I didn't have distilled water in the house. So I, did what I could. I could have made distilled water if you really challenged me. Yeah, Sam is saying that salt can be extremely effective. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I have to tell you, it's still slightly there, but it's, as Jody will tell you, it was pretty nasty when it started, and it's nearly done now. Okay, so Sam is saying eliminating bacteria, but not viruses necessarily. No, Sam, that's a good point. All right. What I had was I believe, a clogged tear duct. No, it can't be a clogged tear. I don't think what I had was a virus, but I could be wrong. If it doesn't clear up within the week, I obviously will be seeking more advice. But right now, I didn't see it as a major thing. So do you all relate to these minor frustrations, that they are not life-changing? But on the other hand, do you also relate to Gary's desperation? I want to just warn you all, when you're desperate for something, when this is so important that you cannot afford to lose it, that shows up. All right? That shows up in the way you talk and the way your body language is, and things like that. So just be aware. To me, I always was aware that I wanted the job, but I considered it necessary that I didn't actually want to portray that I wanted the job. In other words, there was a sort of like, you know what I'm saying, right? It's just like, hey, I'm here if you want me. If you don't want me, that's fine. Because I know somebody else is going to want. I was amazed how many people interviewed me and gave me the same story, which is, something, I'd love you, but I'd love to have you in my company. I don't have a job big enough. And I'd go, really? In what way? And they'd say, because, you're one of those people that you're a problem solver type person. And I don't have enough that is going to keep you entertained in that way. And I would just automatically say, Gary, who do you know that does? And I was amazed how many times they gave me a name and said, hey, don't worry about it. I'm going to phone him and I'll get back to you on that. And they'd do it for me. They'd actually, by the way, what's more effective? That I go and talk to this guy and say, I think you need me, or that this guy who phones and says, hey, I've just interviewed somebody, you need this person. They're going to fix your problem. So think about that. Think about it is. I understand Gary's comment about he's desperate to get a good job straight out of college. But my question is, why would you? What are you bringing to the table that warrants me giving you more than an entry-level job? The other thing, Gary, that I want to make sure you know is I remember being a fully qualified whatever, and I moved to Canada. And when I got to Canada, the only job I could get was as a rep in that business, right? I wanted to go back into the publishing business. The only job I could get was being a representative for them. Yes. And I took it. Why, Gary? Even though I had huge experience overseas, I took a sales job. And the reason was because I knew it wouldn't take very long for them to see that I did not deserve to be in, selling stuff. All right. I need to be managing stuff. And, one of the funny things was that they accidentally gave me a major client that was a female in a time, again, I'm talking 50 years ago. She also had a high-powered job. And I got to meet her because they accidentally gave her to me as a client. And then they realized their mistake and they phoned her up and they said, we're so sorry, we sent you the rookie. And we just want to tell you we'll be sending you our top guy starting at the next appointment. And she said, you can send whoever you like. The only person who's going to get through that door is that rookie you sent me. She is the first person that came and genuinely wanted to know how she could help me. genuinely wanted to know how could she help me do my job better. That's where her question was. Nobody's ever asked me that question. They've been so busy selling what they're selling. They never ever asked that question. And that was her first question. And the second question was, what pie did I like? you know, and it was so funny because what I did, Gary, was the next time, and she meant it. You can change reps on me, but they're not coming into my office. They'll stay with my juniors. They're not going to be dealing with me. And so I got to keep her. And I thought that was pretty special. And what I found out was that women in those days, in those positions, didn't get to talk normal stuff very much because only guys had that stuff. So I used to walk in there with my pie and my coffee for her and for me. And then I'd literally start off and go, okay, let me start with what I have to do. And I'd go, I need to tell you da 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 da. Okay, that's it. That's the business side of it. Anything you need to tell me on the business side? And she'd go, yeah, we just picked up X, Y, and Z as a client, so you may want to crunch some numbers on that. And I go, okay, thanks. And then I'd say, okay, fine. And then I'd put my feet up on the desk and we'd eat pie and we talk about our love life. Do you know how much business I got from that woman? You have no idea how much business she passed my way, how many contacts she gave me. Why? I was a human being that understood her. And, people used to say that I was very unusual in that. And I can remember one guy that I had as a client, and he accidentally had a very important schedule of he was about to present to his client, and it was on his desk. Now, officially, I'm not meant to read that, even though it's upside down. But I was pretty good about reading upside down. And so I went through the usual stuff with him. And as I was about to leave, and I said, Peter, I'd like to make a suggestion. And he said, sure, Sal, what's that? And I said, before you present that schedule to your client, you may want to add the Reader's Digest in there. And he said, what? And I said, before you present that schedule, I said, I know the client pretty well. And I said, you may want to add the Reader's Digest in because it's not on your schedule, and I think it should be. He said, yes, it is. And I said, no, it isn't. Well, I want to tell you, he looked at it, and whoever had typed up that schedule had forgotten that line with the budget needed for the Reader's Digest. And he said a word that you can imagine. And then he said, how do I ever thank you? And I said, well, you'll find a way. By the way, he got the client, and guess how much business I got? Because I had the integrity to let him know. And, those sort of things come back to people trust your integrity. All right. But you can't necessarily do that in a heartbeat. You have to make sure people know about you and know about your integrity. When I say know about it, they will pick it up through your stories, through whatever. So when I'm helping people who are applying for jobs, I am less concerned about their experience. I am more concerned is when I interview you, what do I hear? All right? Do I hear a problem solver? Do I hear a team player? Do I hear, somebody who has spent their whatever life they've lived helping other people? Are they a contributor? In other words, will they get on with other people? Or are they somebody who is a prima donna? I need to know those things. And I can tell that pretty well just by doing some interview questions and listening to their answers. Listening is an important part of it. So it is frustrating for a lot of people. And sometimes they don't understand, why didn't I get the job? Now, I, on the other hand, have to say that I also was in a difficult situation because I was female, which isn't so much the issue today, although it's still there. But, it was like I had to overcome a lot to be able to get interviewed and to be able to get actually employed. And I agree with Gary, and I'm certain a lot of my viewers would as well, that These jobs require that you get experience, but you can't get in to get the experience. Think about that. And so I always wanted them to want me. And Gary, just so you know, in some cases, they didn't want me for the job I'd applied for. They actually made a job specially for me because they could see my potential and they wanted that. I had one company that employed me just so the competition couldn't get me. And, the CEO told me that, over a Christmas party one year. He said, Sal, you know why we employed you? I got no idea. We know I wasn't qualified. And he said, no, you weren't. But, we were so scared the competition would get you. And if they did, they would beat us. And I said, you're so right. He said, yeah, you proved that. By the way, how many of you have been watching the Australian Open? For those of you who are tennis fans, one of the things I've realized is, watching the Australian Open completely changes my day because, that on the other side of the world, right? And that means that all the action happens during the night. Well, that really messes with my sleep pattern. But we all agree that I don't have to be frustrated about that. I just need to adjust my sleep pattern so that I can have it all. It is possible. Okay, so some of you will have seen that I put up, when was it? On the 12th. Where are we now? So we're a week ago. Okay, so I am still celebrating the fact that I gave up smoking 9 years ago. And for all of you who've given up smoking, I don't know how many years you've done it, but I want to make sure that you continue to acknowledge the incredible effort you put into stopping smoking. For some of you, it was more difficult than others. I know that I had one doctor say to me that my addiction was not to the nicotine. I was addicted to something else in there, he reckoned. But it took me a lifetime to give up smoking, but I did. And so for anybody who's done it, and for those of you who maybe are still young enough for it to make a difference, I've worked it out that not smoking for 9 years has saved me about $40,000. How on earth did I ever find that money? I don't know. I have no idea. But I did. It was an addiction. So you found the money. So I applaud any of you that are dealing with any sort of addiction. And one of the things that I made sure I did, when I celebrated 9 years, was to thank the people who believed that I could do it. Because there were a couple of people who didn't nag on me all the time, but just kept saying, you'll do it one day, Sal. We know that. And that is really important. And what I thanked them for was not nagging on me, just saying that they knew I would, that I was strong enough to be able to do it. I just needed the right things in place at the time. And I got them, thank goodness. All right, looking towards feeling of control. Did any of you feel in control of anything this week? Did you feel you could control your life? Yeah. Ordinary girl, can I call you something other than ordinary girl? You've probably told me before, but you strike me as somebody who deserves a name. She's saying, imagine if we would have put that money away after we quit. None of us did. And I thought about that. I thought, and in a way I thought, well, I'm now purchased things on Amazon. So I look at it that way. The things I buy on Amazon, Okay, is that okay? I see that you've written it there, but okay for me to talk about that publicly? Ordinary girl? It's okay for me to use it? Because, this will remain. And Jody will make a note so I don't forget. Wow. Sam, can I repeat that? Okay, so ordinary girl's name's Julie. Hi, Julie. Thank you. And Julie, in future, when you come on, the first time you do it, just put your name in brackets until I get it, right? After a while, I'll get it, but you know. All right, now Sam has written something. This is interesting. Sam said, I recently quit drinking. That's a difficult one as well. All right, I didn't have a problem, but I just chose to. After my mom's passing, it just didn't seem worth it anymore. You know, the interesting thing is that anybody that's made a decision, you know, whether it's to quit sugar or quit whatever, Kimmy's saying, you know, she quit after 31 years. Was that on smoking? I mean, the scary thing was I started smoking when I was 16, and I only quit 9 years ago. Imagine. So, you know, I look at it and go, we know the feeling is unbelievable. And I don't know about the rest of you, but, you know, Sam, don't even have a sip. And one of the things that makes me really angry is when people put booze in their food and don't tell you. Now, I know that 9 times out of 10, the alcohol has burnt off, but I don't know about you. But, you know, I'd like to know there's rum in that dessert. I am not somebody that's given up drinking, you know, well, except for most of the year. You know, I'm what they call a social drinker. I got bottles of wine in the house and I got booze all over the place, but I'm not somebody that drinks. All right. unless somebody comes into my house, and then I'll open up a bottle of wine and I'll thoroughly enjoy it. Thank you. So yeah, Kimmy, 31 years. So you quit way ahead of a lot of us. Well done. So I want you to know that I know what it takes, all right, because I've been there and done that. And I also know that I cannot so much as have a puff of a cigarette because I will be smoking again. Right. Sandy's saying that she also gave up drinking. Wow, that's, you know, after she got her diabetes, type 1 diabetes. I didn't know that, Sandy. So that's awesome. But, you know, you have to learn to cope in different ways, right? That's the interesting thing, whether it's smoking or drinking or whatever. You know, I realized that I used to smoke to give myself thinking time. You know, when I really, you know, because I really analyzed it. And when I wanted to get away from people, you know, I'd say, sorry, I need to go and have a cigarette. Or, you know, and I'd analyze every reason that I had a cigarette. You know, I'd be on the computer and something would be taking too long. I'd light a cigarette. All right. So, yes, Julie's saying, you know, congratulations to everybody. I quite agree. So let's go back a little while and let's have a feeling of control about spring. How many of you know what you're going to be planting in your garden if you're lucky enough to have one this spring? How many of you are prepared for spring already? How many of you have mapped out what you want your garden or your patio or your balcony to look like, or your windowsill to look like this spring? How many of you decided what you want to have your kitchen or your living room look like this spring? How many of you have already thought about spring? And have you done a budget so that you have enough money? That's called being in control. How many of you are already set up for Valentine's Day? Do you know what you're giving and to whom? And have you worked out what you're going to bake or not bake? You know, have you done that planning? Because, you know, it's not very far away. Kimmy's saying, I know what I want. Is that you know what you want somebody to give you, or you know what you want to get? Jody's saying, I smoked for a very short time after my mom passed. And then didn't pick it up again. You are so lucky, Jody. It's a horrific addiction. The reason I cannot have a single puff is I know that if I had one puff, I'd be back smoking again. I enjoyed smoking. I did it well. All right. So Julie's saying, I don't think that far ahead. Well, you know, Julie, the reason I talk about these things and saying, are you prepared, is because that's what gets rid of a lot of stress and a feeling of rushing and everything else. I want to tell you, this last Christmas was the first Christmas that I literally was done way ahead of Christmas. I started my Christmas cards in July, and I just had a slot in the week where I sat down and I did Christmas cards, and I had them all ready to go. And then I did, week by week, I did addresses on them and so forth. And then, boom, the cards went out in time, and they even got all the way to Tasmania in time. I was so happy. And then, I look at it and I go, what's my next thing? All right. Because if you can constantly be looking ahead, you will be more in control, less frustrated, and you will be surprised. Julie's saying, wow, that would definitely help. What is that? Starting Christmas cards in July? You have to be really disciplined to do it, though, Julie. It's easy to put off. It's very easy to put off. Well, it's only July. Why would I bother? Well, hello. Christmas cards take longer. I think Sandy was the one that really helped me on that one year, where she and I are both very creative about we make things. And one of the things I watched her do was to really panic at the end of something. And she said, if only I had started this earlier, which we all say. And I thought, something, I'm creative. It's going to take me longer than most people. I don't just go to the store and buy cards. I make them. So it's going to take me 6 months. All right. Julie is saying that being early is, that's going to help. She said, I tried to shop in October. I want to tell you, I shop all year. I think about different people and I go, what would I like to get for them this year? And I found most people, and I always ask this question, how many of you want one present or that it maybe is a little more expensive, or how many of you like to open up lots of little ones? What do you prefer? Because that's what I found out. Most people, like to open up quite a few presents. The other thing is I try to find presents that are useful for people. Interesting. Kimmy's saying she's feeling bad because she can't be around lawnmowers anymore. So she can't mow the lawn. And she used to love it. It was so relaxing. Okay. So therefore, have you got it organized who is going to mow the lawn this year? Do you know who that is? Have you got that organized? And then my question would be, what is your new relaxation going to be? Are you going to say, I can't mow the lawn, but I can go and sit in a chair and read 10 pages of a book? All right. And that is, I understand that your old thing was, let me go and mow the lawn so I can relax. A lot of people I know find watering that relaxing. All right. I can't mow the lawn, but boy, I could go out and really water my plants today. And that's, you just basically got to stand there. It's really good relaxation. I see these things as in those terms now. I don't say, I've got to go and water the flowers. I go, it's time to relax. Let me go out and water the flowers. I think you all know that every day I have what I call a go outside segment to my day. There's a get up segment to my day where I do certain things. And then I have a go outside segment. And I don't think of these things as hard work anymore. They're part of my go outside. So that might include, going to the composter and composting my stuff. It may include tidying up my deck. It may include, repotting things or whatever. I don't see it as exercise. It's just part of my go outside part of my day and get fresh air. And, it's amazing to me. Yes, Kimmy's saying she could do exercise and instead of mowing the lawn. Yeah, you could if you choose to. You could grow a garden. Yeah. By the way, Kimmy, that's the big dream. Sometimes growing a garden is more difficult than you think. I found last year that I was extremely good at growing seedlings and then killing them. I have no idea why. The other thing I found, Kimmy, was I was really good at growing seedlings that made it all the way to the garden and fed the rabbits. So I learned to let go of perfection and just go, I did pretty well. I found out the things that I grow inside work a lot better than the ones I do outside, but I keep doing it. I did eat. If you remember that first year, I had 1 tomato. Last year, I must have had a dozen. They were very nice. I enjoyed them. So, Kimmy, I wanted to talk why you couldn't get online last week. And by the way, congratulations that you changed your name and got in. Am I allowed to tell people why? Because I think it's an important thing that people might not know about. When I sat and thought about the reason why they blocked you, that was just a simple error on your part, one that a lot of people wouldn't even think about. So let me know if I can repeat the reason that they blocked you. Kim is saying that they have a garden every year. Yes. So you probably know I'm fairly new in my house, so I'm still developing my garden. And every year I think, what one more thing do I want to do? And it's just I will order more seeds, and most of them won't grow. But I threw some seeds in the fall and covered them up with my mulch, and I'm hoping some of them will come up. Oh, you still don't know why you couldn't get in? They did tell you. The note that you sent me told me why they didn't let you in. Okay. So would you like me to show you why they didn't let you in? And I say show you because, yeah, okay, Kimmy, let me show you. I don't know exactly what their wording was, but this is what they were trying to tell you. You had your browser up, okay, and these are different pages of your browser, all right? Maybe you had Facebook here, and you had YouTube here, and something else, all right? So you had joined DearMamaSal here, but what they said, Kimmy, was on one of these tabs, you also had a video that was not suitable for children, or a children's video. I think it was a children's video. And we are a not for children broadcast. So the fact you had something open here that you could have taken DearMamaSal and added it into here, that is a violation of YouTube. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whatever was open here was a children's thing, and DearMamaSal is not for children. Yeah. So that's why they blocked it. Because they are constantly so trying to protect children from seeing content that they shouldn't. Does that sort of make sense, Kimmy? Yeah, and they actually told you that in the screenshot that you sent. If that's what they said. That is good to know. Yes, Sam. That's why I wanted to make sure you all knew that. So if ever you get blocked, and it's very frustrating, and you're probably going to get angry if you get blocked, but read what they send you very carefully, because they probably will tell you why they blocked you. And because, Kimmy, this time you came in and you didn't have another tab open with the children's thing in it, you were fine. But you also changed your name, I see. So that's interesting as well. Maybe that was part of it. Good. All right, now then, before we carry on, does anybody have any other feelings or issues that they'd like to talk about today? I want to tell you something, Julie. That's a really good question. Just hold on 1 second. I just need to do something here. Sorry, I closed my... I just closed a site that I want to open up again. Yeah, Julie's asking, I'm wondering, how did Google know what she had opened on her screen? I want to tell you, it is scary what they know. And it's a very, very good question. And I had it happen to me one day where I had something, and when I went to check it out, the answer I got was the same sort of thing. And I'm going, how do you guys know what tabs I have open? And the truth is, they do. All right. Because that's the algorithm. That's what we all live with today. And that's, why so many people, that is control. Yeah, that is control. But it is social media. But Julie, a very good question. And the answer is, yeah. And Julie's saying, maybe that's for the good, but geez. Yeah. I agree with you. It is scary, but it also is necessary. Okay. So, look at it and go, they know more about, the whole thing about, they can target ads based on what you read every day, right? They are constantly, their algorithm is constantly picking up what you are watching. So that algorithm can actually pick up that you've got, this for kids open here, and you've got DearMamaSal open here, and they're going, no, we need to put a buffer. They need to block it. So it is scary, but it is social media. It's not going to go back to how it used to be. That these are the protections we've had to put in. And it's not fun, but it is necessary. So if you don't like it, get off social media. They know more about who you are than you can possibly imagine. And let's be honest, if they can know, so does the government, so does everybody else, all right? Our lives as we knew it. Now, for some of you, it's not an issue. And for some of you, it is a huge imposition and infringement of your rights. It is up to you how you want to feel about it. I work at it this way, which is, I don't have much to hide in my life. And I'm pretty certain that they've got better fish to fry than DearMamaSal, So, and when I need help blocking somebody, they're pretty good about doing it. So I'm very happy. By the way, I found that I was a part of the way that YouTube got to block people in a hurry. This on the comments now. The admins here can block somebody in a heartbeat. And I know that I was part of that. And the reason was because when we were doing Dance Semba in all those years, I would always have a YouTube person next to me, and I'm going, can't you guys come up with something where we can block these people? They should not be taking up space, on the feed. These trolls, I should be able to just press a button and stop them if I need to. And, as you know, I during December, for those of you who don't know, that was 24-hour fundraiser that we do. During December, literally I was online talking to the feed for 24 hours. And it was like so much of it was garbage stuff. You know what I mean? People who'd got an axe to grind about something or whatever. Not, we're here to raise money. We're not here to complain. And, the funny thing was, after about 3 years, every year I'd say to them, haven't you got this fixed yet? And then suddenly they had it fixed. And I just said to them, wow, well done. All right, well done. Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And they used to say to me, Sal, Mama Sal, you were living proof of why it needed to happen. And what I used to do, I got really smart. I'm good at delegating. When we were doing December, I always had a YouTube person. And I'd say to them, have you got this problem fixed yet? And they go, no. And I say, okay, then I'm delegating you to deal with blocking these people for the 24 hours that we are on live. And they go, what? And I said, well, you know how to do it. You work for the company. So your job is to block these people for us so we don't waste time on them. And they go, okay, fine. And then they try and do it. You know how difficult that was to do when we first started? And then I just looked at it, and in the end, as one of the top people came to me in one of the Decembers, and they say, Mama Sal? And I go, yeah. They said, we fixed it for you. And I go, you did? And they go, yeah, look at this. And they showed me, and I went, oh, wow, that is awesome. So, Jody can now just, and the other admins can decide, whether they want somebody to show up on the feed or not. You just press a button now. It's just that simple. Or to block them or time them out or do whatever. And I must admit that I know that in the bottom of my heart somewhere, I am part of that growth that happened. Yeah, and Julie's saying she remembers the days of December. Frustration. Here you go. Simple rules, people. Number one, isolate the problem. When you get frustrated, it's a feeling, right? What do we know? If it's feeling, it's under my control. So number one, know what feeling frustrated feels like. What does it feel like to you, guys? What does it feel like when you get frustrated? What happens to you physically, mentally? Do you know? To me, it comes out like they should have. The should word comes out. When they sent me the wrong model, you understand, they should have sent the right one. Well, hello. That's not helping anybody. So number two is reflect on why you're getting so upset. Well, why am I getting upset? Because they should have sent the right one. Well, they didn't. I answer myself. Yeah, I understand why you're upset, Sal. They should have sent the right one, but they didn't. They made a mistake. Ever made a mistake? Yes. Okay. Go with the flow. Let them know they've made a mistake and let them correct it. And the third thing is understand that eventually it'll get fixed or not. Now, how many of you know the revenge factor came out for me? Why would I get another one of these? They do nothing but mess me around. Well, I've done a bit of research, and there are not too many air fryers that got a filter in them. And so for me, it was like, I actually do need this one at the moment. And the other thing is just keep saying to yourself, is getting frustrated helping me at all? No. Being frustrated just messes with your brain. Why hang on to that? Let it go. Move on. Do something. Do the best you can for today and move on. By the way, rebuilding the unit in my studio, should it have happened? No. Did it? Yes. Can you imagine? That's a 25 cube unit. All right. To rebuild it, I have to basically rebuild 25 cubes. That's a lot of work. Do I have to do it all in one day? No. So I have a segment of my day now. Literally every day I do one more cube or two. Because normally I say I only have to do one. If I do one, I normally end up doing 2 or 3, right? That's human nature. But the thing is, if I do one every day, then within the month, it'll all be rebuilt. Get my drift? So what I do is just say, you only have to do one. Now, I've done most of the high up ones. Now it's a case of I need to be on the floor to fix the ones at the bottom. And that's back-breaking work. But I'm going to do it because I want that fixed. Is it frustrating? If I want it to be. Or I choose to see it as practice that I need for getting up off the floor. Now, am I being very careful? Because, as an old fart, getting up off the floor is not easy for me. So do I have things around me that I can lean on and easily get back up off the floor? Yes. That was the first thing I did, all right, to make sure I could get back up the floor because I live on my own. So, it's about be prepared, know what I'm doing here. So to me, frustration is part of everybody's day, all right? You're all going to get frustrated. It's human nature. If it's frustration, it's a feeling. It's not a real thing, right? Frustration happens when you don't get your own way. True? When they don't send you the right thing that they should have done. For those of us who are pretty organized and perfectionists, why couldn't they get it right the first time? Well, they didn't. And then I remind myself, have I ever made a mistake? Yep, lots of them. Well, so did they. So think about it and go, frustration is part of life. But if you let it control you, it is in control. I don't like that. So take a deep breath and go, yeah, it should not have happened that way, but it did. So let's move on. Let's do what we can to get the ball rolling in the right direction. And then let it go. Right? Don't stay frustrated. What if somebody frustrates you? All right? Somebody is constantly doing something that frustrates you. I have somebody that is constantly complaining about a person in their life. And I just don't put up with it for very long. I'll let them have 1 or 2 complaints a week. But if they start complaining every day, I actually write to them and go, hey, I normally my sort of tolerance factor is about 1 or 2 complaints about this person a week. You're up to doing it every day for the last week now, so I'm getting bored. Could you just do me a favor? Don't complain about them for another week. Now, I also, as you know, am one of those people that writes back and go, what have you done about it? No, I just want to vent. Well, I'm getting tired. Is it okay for me to set that boundary? Is it okay for me to say, I'm getting tired of you complaining about this person? I just write back and say, either do something about it or shut up for a while, please. Or if you don't, they will always react negatively to that. Why? You called them on their stuff. I expect them to react negatively. Nobody likes to be called on their stuff. But the truth is, I make them think about it. Somebody who's constantly complaining about an ache or a pain, what does the doctor say? Well, I haven't been. Okay, let me know when you have. So either do something about it or shut up about it. And the reason I'm mentioning this is, are you the cause of other people's frustration? Are you the cause of somebody else's frustration? Think about that. I always try and see both sides to the story. Who are you frustrating at the moment? And why? Jody's saying that the whole business about calling people on their frustrating behavior, not only is it okay to set that boundary, it is critical and crucial, rather. You know something, Jody, but if you don't know that, you put up with it, right? We have a wonderful viewer in England called Linda. And Linda has a 10-minute complaints rule. All right? You can complain, but only for 10 minutes. After that, you have to shut up. And she learned it here because I must have said it one day. But, it's just like she talks about it all the time. so and so was complaining. So I control the amount of negativity that comes into my life. And you know what else I do now? I've got a new system. If I start the first part of a text that's coming through and I can see what's coming up, it's going to be another complaint, I just hit the thumbs up button. I don't bother to respond. I just give it a thumbs up that I heard it. And so you look at it and go, we have more control in our life than we think we do. We can control whether Google knows what we're watching or not. We can control that by not using Google or YouTube or Facebook or whatever. We can control it. But you know something? If you want what they bring you, they want the freedom of what they bring you, if they want the knowledge that they bring you and all the rest of it, it comes at a price. How many of you are going, how did we ever live without Google? How did we ever live without Google? Well, there were so many other, the Internet Explorer to start with, but it wasn't Google. I mean, Google did such a good job. How did we live without Amazon? All right. So you look at these things and go, they come with great gifts, but they also come with their own baggage. And if you want to live a life of reality, you need to see the yin and the yang. All right. It's never just one side. It's always both. And if you can see that and understand it and acknowledge it, your frustration is a lot better. All right. You will lower your frustration levels. You will deal in reality. Yes, it is frustrating, but I control my frustration. That is under my control. It is normal to have the feeling, acknowledge the feeling, do what you need to do, and move on. Right? Do what you need to do to move on. Now, is it frustrating that I have to spend all this time reorganizing, sending another air fryer back? Yep. But if I want it replaced, it's what I have to do. So the sooner I just put on my big girl pants and pack that thing up again, the better. I've already sent them the information they need for the return address. And when they've done that, I will ask that they have it picked up. All right. I don't want to have to lug it into the car and take it somewhere. It's a heavy unit, and I am not of an age where I should need to do that. So I am just going to ask them to, have it picked up. Thank you, Jody, for teaching me that I could do that. One of the things I really love about doing Dear Mama Sal is how much we teach one another. So think about it this week. Julie is saying, I miss the good old days. What were the good old days, Julie? Were those the days without Google? Without Amazon? Were those the days when food didn't get delivered to your door if you wanted it? What were the good old days? I've heard it said many, many times. All right. Good point. Julie's saying what she misses is going to the mall, talking to neighbors. What is it about your life that stops you going to the malls? And what is it that stops you talking to the neighbors? Because both those are still doable. I still talk to my neighbors. I text them a lot. I mean, I'm literally next door, but I text them a lot. And, I always say to people who live on the eastern seaboard with those nasty winters, I go to the mall. Go to a shopping mall. It is heated at night, all right? And you can walk for a long time. Walking around a mall is quite a distance. I had a friend of mine who used to do it as their exercise program. So there are no neighbors near you. All right. So you got the same problem. Kimmy has a bit of that problem as well, I think. So this is a hello. What club have you joined this year, Julie? Think about what can you do, not what can't you do. If you don't have neighbors, right? Julie's saying the only talking my neighbors do is hi and bye. So here's the question: when did you last invite them over for a meal? It's like if we don't keep doing what we used to do, all right? If we don't keep doing, Julie's saying there are no malls near her. Okay, good point. Kimmy has the same problem as well. So, if that is so important to your life, you may want to consider moving. If you really think that having a mall near you made your life better, then why did you move away from malls? All right. So think about, would you be prepared to downsize and maybe, live somewhere closer to the malls? If that really is so important to you, don't be a victim to it. And Julie, this is not criticizing you. This is like, get real. All right. Life is going to get less and less chatty. All right. And I don't think you're alone, by the way, Julie. I think a lot of people are feeling it. I can remember way back when, 50 years ago, Faith Popcorn wrote a book where it said this was going to happen. People would isolate a lot more. We would live in smaller and smaller, houses would be built on very small lots, as they are today. And I remember thinking, no, nobody would want to be stuck like that. Yeah, we are. And, it's a really important part to know what it is that's important to you. If being in the country because it's fresh air and you love the farm animals is important to you, don't complain about the fact you haven't got neighbors nearby or there isn't a mall within 10 minutes. Does that make sense? You can't have it all. You need to know what's most important. So are you saying that you do live in a good town, Julie? Because I think what's happening now is we need to reevaluate what's causing us frustration. So if that is really important to you, then start being prepared, start making the plans. How do we get to move? I was reading today that the cost of mortgages is about to skyrocket. And, for those of you thinking of buying, sooner would be better than later. So be aware of that. There we go. Thank you, Julie. That's what I have thought about you. And I want to read that because it's wonderful. Julie's saying, Sal, I have more than I could dream of. I'm happy. I'm just saying I miss the good old days where we didn't have to depend on Google. Well, I didn't enjoy Encyclopedia Britannica. I've got to tell you something. We're my only source of knowledge. Mind you, we didn't get a lot of the false media. I miss the days. To be fair there, Julie, I miss the days when we could turn on the news and trust it, that it wasn't biased, that it wasn't feeding us too much propaganda. I'm certain we got some. But now it's like I want to. You have to keep switching channels to find out where the middle ground is. Are they all saying this? If they're all saying it, it's probably true. But if this one's saying this and this one's saying the opposite, that's bipartisan stuff going, or that's political stuff going on there. It's very difficult, isn't it? And I miss the days of Walter Cronkite where we could watch him and know what he was doing. And we trusted him. Um, you know, I don't know about the rest of you, but I have some humor these days about the fact I've got, my television provider has just upgraded me for some reason, more money, upgraded me. So I've got about 200 television channels. But the truth is, how many do I watch? I live stream most of my stuff. Right? But it's what they have to do now to keep me as a client, right? Because people are unplugging from cable. So, I'm going, maybe I'll watch a bit more television. I don't know. We'll see. But talk about frustration. I was busy watching something the other day and I needed to put it on pause so that I could go and do something in the kitchen here. And I was pressing this button for the longest time, going, what's wrong? Did the battery not working? And then I realized it's television. It's not streaming. Streaming, you can put it on hold while you go to the washroom or go to the kitchen or do, television, not so much. So, mind you probably got, some of you got it that you can do that, but All right, so, Julie's saying, that's why I started my channel last year, teaching others how to cook, bake, share music, etc. I figured you can't beat it. Might as well join. I want to tell you something, Julie. Being DearMamaSal gives me a reason to get up every day. It gives me a reason to tidy up my kitchen on Thursdays. It gives me friends I never had before. It gives me great joy to be able to help people. And therefore, why wouldn't I do DearMamaSal? Makes sense. If it's what you love to do, and the world changes, then go, you're right, Julie, adapt. Join it. Don't fight it. So having said that, just to let you know, this evening we're going to be cooking up, I've got too much Parmesan cheese in my fridge, so I thought we'd be making some snacks and dinner with Parmesan cheese. And also I've got a new smoothie that I'm going to whip up. And generally chaos will happen. So for those of you who like meal prepping, join me this evening at 7:00, and I'm going to be doing some overnight oat stuff as well. Join us then. We'll have some fun. And in the meantime, look after one another and understand frustration is just part of your life. All right? How you deal with it is your emotional intelligence. All right? If you can deal with frustration and just go, hey, it is what it is, move on, then you are emotionally intelligent. And that's what we're all striving for. So thank you so much for being here, Jody. Thank you for looking after us as usual. We appreciate it. This is DearMamaSal saying, I'll see you at 7:00. See you then. Don't get too frustrated. It's not worth it. Bye for now.